Right now, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is testifying before a Senate Oversight Committee about you-know-who's nearly $1.8 billion fund for people he says were victims of Biden's Justice Department, which he was asked about yesterday. Take a look.
Why should taxpayers pay for the January 6th?
Well, it's been very well received, I have to tell you. I know very little about it. I wasn't involved in the whole creation of it and the negotiation. But this is reimbursing people that were horribly treated, horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed.
The acting attorney general is supposed to be the people's lawyer and defend the rule of law and not act as the president's personal lawyer. But in this administration, the Department of Justice is solely focused on pleasing one man.
There was the possibility that folks like the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys who had assaulted Capitol police officers could receive multi-million-dollar payouts from this fund.
Whether an individual, an Oath Keeper, as you just mentioned, applies for compensation, is anybody in this country can apply.
Unbelievable.
And apparently a five-person panel will decide who gets compensated with our tax dollars. And just a small reminder, Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick was assaulted and died the next day, that day. They were there shouting, "Hang Mike Pence."
Yeah.
Now, had they found Mike Pence, I have no doubt that they would have done something. I don't know how you can justify this or why we have to pay for I don't get this. I don't understand that they want a lot. They want us to pay for the ballroom. They want us to pay for the giant arch. They want us to pay for the reverberations of that crazy airport and the reflecting pool. Why is this coming out of all of us? And where the hell is the government?
Well, he is the government. He, as you know,
he's consolidated his power.
It's the Donald Trump government. I mean, it's a cesspool with no bottom.
Yeah.
And just FYI, of the people that are going to be getting this money, if it happens, 6 have been charged with sex crimes involving children. 5 have been charged with drunk driving, 2 of them having killed other motorists. 5 were arrested for illegal weapons possession, including 2 who had rap sheets with domestic violence charges, and 2 have been arrested for rape.
These are the January 6th people.
That's right.
And these are crimes that came after January 6th, so they already did those crimes and then did these crimes.
I mean, this is what the country that we're living in right now, where a person like Donald Trump can tell these people, congressional people, Republicans have power in this country. I had dinner with a politician the other night, and he was saying, there is the Republican Party who are the people who have to stop him. Democrats have no power. The only power we have in the Congress is to vote, if they allow it. If they allow it. Remember that. They're doing everything to stop that also. We're losing the country.
No, we're not losing the country. It's a big, crappy battle for it, but it's a big battle.
Well,
we have not lost the country. They can fight as hard as they want to. We're going to fight hard.
No, I'm not saying that we've lost it.
Okay.
I'm saying that we are every day it gets worse and worse.
Well, and I think what's behind all of this, when we talk about Donald Trump, he is so consumed with legacy. President Obama's legacy is so untarnished, and his is so tainted. And President Obama, just lives rent-free in Donald Trump's brain. And I think a lot of this has to do with he wants to erase history. He is a person who was impeached for inciting an insurrection in our country. That is what happened. And so he is doing all this, in my view. Remember, we all saw it. And he wants us to forget what we saw with our own eyes.
Not just forget, give them money.
In giving the money, it's almost like they were wronged, right?
Yeah.
So everything is about erasing what he did and sort of trying to rehabilitate his reputation and his legacy.
Something I think about a lot when we see these headlines, because I said yesterday, this is one of the swampiest things I can possibly imagine. This is not draining the swamp. This is creating a slush fund for the swamp to help its political allies. But I think about how many voters will actually hear about this and click beyond the headline and read what it actually does? And I would argue that in a fractured media environment where a lot of folks opt into right-wing media that confirms their own biases, that turn into podcasts that don't actually necessarily deal in facts, you're going to have tens of millions of Americans who every time there's a flashy, offensive headline like this, maybe never find out about. The Qatari jet, Signalgate, these things almost just brush by people and they move on. And to a point Whoopi makes a lot, I thought about this during maternity leave, the average American is struggling. They're trying to get their kids to school, they're trying to pay their bills, they're hoping they'll be able to afford that medical bill, whatever it may be, and they almost just tune this out as noise.
So you don't think they're even receiving this?
I think a lot aren't receiving it because of a fractured media environment, and then I think a lot are like, I am so stressed in my own life, I don't have time for this noise.
Yeah, the headline, the media consumption, though, I kind of understand, because how many times in a day are you going through and you read a headline, you have kind of a gist in your head, and then we come to work and they're like, we're going to talk about this, and you start reading, you're like, whoa, there's a lot of other things in here.
Do you blame those voters for not being more informed?
I find it hard to judge another human being for whatever battle they're fighting, because I realize now more than ever, everyone has one. But what I want to say is the hypocrisy of a lot of this sludge fund is what's killing me. So before you get to the violence of January 6th, let's remember there were protesters who were looting and vandalizing in cities, and I don't agree with that. But that is looting and vandalizing as well, and we seem to forget that and want to let everyone off the hook.
Why?
And by the way, I'm also not a fan of reparations, but if anyone's getting them, the only people I stand for are Black Americans.
That's true.
I don't like this.
But the question I have is, to what you said, what's so hard about understanding that Trump, this is what it is, Trump wants to give almost $2 billion to people who attacked the Capitol and killed a policeman.
So if you
and almost killed the vice president and caused tremendous damage. What is so hard to understand?
It's not hard.
And it's your money.
It's not hard to understand at all. It's
How do you
that we
still
live
support this
in a
president?
democratized media environment where if you're only watching Fox News, you
How
are
do they
very
spin that
likely
on
not
Fox
seeing
News?
that
How do you
headline.
spin it?
They're likely not covering it. Epstein's barely covered on a lot of right-wing media. If you're only listening to Joe Rogan, who by the way, sometimes I'm a fan of, you're probably not going deep in this.
Your responsibility in this
We
country.
all have-
people fought and died for the right to vote, to be able to get this information and vote. Isn't it your responsibility as a citizen to be civically engaged?
Being civically engaged is absolutely your responsibility, but I would argue people feel so out of control. They vote local. They pay attention to their local school board, their local community. They're like, I'm not going to change Washington.
I don't think we give them
It's
a
so
pass.
corrupt.
I don't think those people get a pass because we are living in this country.
Sonny, there are a lot of people that don't have that
They
kind of
don't
time
have
in their
that
day.
luxury.
And they don't. They don't have the
They're
luxury
working
to
3 jobs
be,
to feed their kids.
because we're in it. We're inundated in it. I get out of it because I find it overwhelming. And the only way I can move on with my life and try to figure out what to do is to get away from it so I can look at it and say, oh, that's what that is. I don't think people are willfully saying, I don't care. I think people just are at the point of, I don't have any money left.
Yeah.
I gotta take care of my kid. I think that's where a lot of people are right now.
I just don't understand the people that still support this president. I
Well,
don't understand
that's
it.
different from what I'm talking about is not supporting the president. I'm talking about people who may be saying, you know what, this is, I went through the Epstein, I did all this stuff, and now I don't know how to care about the pool.
Yeah.
I don't know how to care about the
I
pool
don't know how to
because
care
I
about the pool.
can't get the rats out of my apartment building because nobody has any money to hire the people to do the work. It's crazy. But it's meant to stop you from doing what you need to do. All of this is meant to keep you from finding a way to make your vote heard. That's what this is all for.